Okay, while Bitcoin is going pretty much sideways, forming something like a bullish flag or bullish pennant, we are looking at the altcoins because people in the comments were asking for some of them, so I decided why not to have a quick look at the biggest ones. So the first request was actually Ether. And people actually are interested in looking at Ether to Bitcoin, not dollar. And I shall warn you guys, when you look at the altcoin price to Bitcoin, it reflects the more of the distribution of the capital within the cryptocurrencies market. And when you prefer to look at the altcoin to dollar, or whatever other fiat you look at, the price action has the implication of how the investors from the outside look at the asset and whether they want to go in or go out, at which stages, and so on and so forth. So keep those things in mind. Anyway, we will look at the weekly time frame because we need to have like a global perspective where the price is going and so on, not the very local short-term trading. So also we will have stochastic MACD and RSI to complement our picture. And first thing for Ether, which I would notice, is the level of support, which was touched 1, 2, and now 3 times, and every time it held pretty nicely. And another thing is that there is a trend line from the previous top going right here to the bottom, which was broken recently, and this is Bitfinex. In fact, if you'll switch to Binance, it looks a bit different, and if you will switch to logarithmic timescale, it's absolutely phenomenal because we went just above this trend line and now the price is hovering around this trend line and we're similarly going above it. So it seems to be holding pretty well, and it's just a matter of time when we finally get higher from that. At least from my perspective, I don't think that as soon as we broke it once, while it was very strong before, we will return back and continue to have a drop. It is possible, but it's just unlikely in my opinion. And for the indicators, there is a slight divergence, so-called exaggerated divergence on MACD and RSI to the price. It's not that strong, but it's still better than nothing, so it adds a little of the points to the bullish side of the perspective for the price. Moreover, if you look at the price of Ether to dollar, recently when we had this breakout on the logarithmic timescale to Bitcoin, we had also the breakout of this ascending wedge to dollar, and it looks pretty strong, although the volume is getting lower with those rises. But you see we had one green candle, relatively strong one, even a stronger candle after that, and now we have even more strong candle. So I wouldn't be surprised that this will continue in a similar manner, something like this, with showing bigger and bigger candles as soon as the market will evolve. Of course, it will require overall market being still bullish, and not only Bitcoin but also altcoins going forward. So overall, I think that Ether looks more bullish than bearish, even like close to bullish than neutral. The next one which we will look is XRP. And for XRP, there was a global triangle XRP BTC, and then it was broken downwards. And now what we have is pretty much the support level, which was tested now second time, in a way very similar to Ether. And last time when it was tested, you see how huge was the pullback after the long drop. So although right now we don't see such a huge reaction, we still have a very little room to decide where the price should go, and like very close within a couple of months probably this will be defined. In my personal opinion, if the breakout will happen to the upside, then it wouldn't be a small one, or maybe not even like this one, and if the whole market will support the move of such huge altcoin as XRP, because it's really hard to move against the market like it did here. It didn't succeed, you see it wasn't sustainable. So if altcoins will gain more traction, then probably XRP after the breakout of this trend line may make something really huge. I wouldn't say something like this, but in any case a huge period of the downtrend and the smaller one may be really broken. And if we're looking at the indicators, then right now we had this very low point for RSI in the weekly time frame. We have pretty much the historical low of the histogram on MACD. We have the very low point for stochastic oscillator, and it is very early stage of the reversal. In fact, we still can break this trend line with the same bearish scenario which could play out for Ether. The same could happen for XRP, so we can break it downwards. and then stochastic will be continuing hovering at the very low zone, as well as the other indicators will remain very bearish. But still, at this very critical region, I think the chances that the price will go upwards from such a oversold territory is very high. Now with XRP to dollar, situation is pretty much similar. We have this triangle formation, we have this support line which was tested several times, and those pullbacks from the bottom become smaller and smaller, and this is a very narrow region for those pullbacks remain here. Moreover, for the indicators, things seem to be not that bad comparing to the XRP to Bitcoin. At least they seem to be turning to a bullish territory. We have the stochastic lows going upwards, we have MACD at least approaching the positive direction, and histogram is green here. We have RSI with like higher lows over here. Of course, we don't have like significant divergences, but it is not that depressing. Still, the support is relatively strong. We always have a pullback with a nice volume as soon as the price reaches this support line here. But the longer we are moving forward within this triangle, the less and less space there is for XRP to have those pullbacks. So I think it's really close to the point when XRP will go above this resistance line, and although XRP may of course break this line and go even lower, but it was a long time for continuous bleedings and recoveries which didn't form higher high for XRP. So I think maybe it's time for a long-term reversal for this coin. As usual guys, my personal opinion, not a financial advice. Another one which was asked by people in the comments is IOTA, and IOTA to BTC is in the descending wedge, and recently we had this volume over here, so it gives us hope that we actually also had a bottom around this area with the RSI at the extremely low point, and now we had a pullback. Also for MACD we have the really nice bullish divergence with the lower lows here and higher lows here, so it's one of the strongest divergence both for the line and for the histogram. And also you can see the stochastic was very low, so all of them are in the very early stage of the reversal, which is not 100% confirmed yet, but there are signs of that. So I think IOTA to BTC is really promising right now. And if you look at IOTA to dollar, then you would see that we're actually forming really nice curvature starting from the top, and then you see the flattening out of this region, and then you may easily guess how this could evolve, how this shape will be continued, something like that. I mean, of course it's not guaranteed, but it looks pretty smooth right now. Now if you look at the indicators, then you'll see that our stochastic oscillator looking upwards, and RSI having higher lows, and MACD also looking pretty much to the upside. So to dollar, I think IOTA is also very interesting. So with the volume increased here, I believe it may be a really nice trade, especially if you'll put the stop order from a huge loss of your position. Also, if you look at the global chart of IOTA, then current price, which is something like 40 cents, is not that bigger than the historical all-time low. Here it was 0.35, and here it was 0.17. All this is like extremely low, so something like 30 cents. And yeah, this is still 30% lower than right now. That's really close to the all-time low region dollar-wise, so there is not so much room to fall, especially considering the bullish market where we are right now. Now when we have a look on EOS and Litecoin, EOS is really bullish comparing to all the other altcoins. Maybe only Binance is better these days, but EOS is much stronger than the overall market, at least market of the altcoins. It has higher highs, higher lows, forming this ascending and widening wedge. In fact, from the December bottom, it made a lot of gains, so probably something like 4 to 5x from the bottom, which is one of the best results among the huge altcoins. I don't want to say it's worth buying right now, maybe, so better to wait for the correction, but overall looks very promising. And even to Bitcoin, when we had this correction of the altcoin market, when Bitcoin was going upwards, still EOS didn't make a lower low. It recovers its position and now approaching to its previous high volume region over here. So I think it's really possible that it would make additional like 30 to 40% to go above the previous high. And in fact, while you may think that those altcoins which outperform the others maybe would need to have a correction, and those which didn't make such gains yet, they're about to make it. So this is not exactly true in some cases, and there are situations when the first gainers are continuing to grow with a faster speed, while those which are going pretty much sideways are continuing to do that. So you have to choose which one would you stick with, but in any case, EOS is a fair bet in my opinion. And another coin which is absolutely smashing it is Litecoin. From December last year, it had a rally with, of course, this pullback related with all the altcoins doing the same thing, but still we have a nice channel going upwards. We have higher highs, higher lows. All the indicators, and now we're looking at the Litecoin to dollar, are pretty much bullish, supporting the strength of the growth which is happening right now with Litecoin. And I wouldn't say that it's exactly the same thing, but right here in the previous bull cycle in 2017, we had very similar behavior of Litecoin before it made a huge pop to the upside. Of course, it was a different market. It was the stage before the parabolic rise, both for altcoins and Bitcoin as well. So we need the whole market to support this move in order to see something like this. So I wouldn't expect this really to happen, but still the similarity, the strength of this coin is amazing. And again, you may expect the correction of this, the same as with EOS. You may expect the correction of this and the capital flowing to the other coins at this stage, but with the trend of the overall market remaining the same, I would more inclined to think that Litecoin will do similar growth, will continue to grow in a similar manner. And it's interesting actually that before this huge correction which we had recently, the growth of Litecoin was very, very smooth. So every time new high, consolidation period, new high, consolidation period, new high, and so on. Moreover, the correction which we had made all the indicators quite relaxed, cool down, and now stochastic is seemingly approaching the bullish crossover over here. MACD and RSI are still rather positive, so it seems like we may have another rally similar to what we had over here. So if you'll translate it, something like that. I mean, I wouldn't be really surprised if we'll have the new local high higher than this one, even considering the fact that Bitcoin will be even higher at this point. But once again, you shall pick and choose between which coins you would prefer, those which are in the middle of such rise, and you may expect that the trend will continue, or those which are showing the signals that the price is about to make such a move. And probably the wisest way is to separate your stakes between those two. Well, for Binance, there's not so much to say. It's constantly growing fast and faster than all other altcoins. I think it's the biggest gainer from the point when the market was at the very bottom. And if you exclude this correction, then it actually a very smooth but really sharp rise, but doesn't seem to be about to stop. CZ constantly adds more and more news, more and more progress for Binance, adding more fuel to the fire. So I don't see this stopping, and all the indicators seem to be reasonably bullish right now. And you see those lines, as you remember on the 4-hour chart, we have the nice correlation between stochastic oscillator and the highs and lows of the Binance coin price, so we can continue these trades, which seem to be really profitable. And the last coin which I would like to look at today is Stellar XLM. And first thing which is just jumping into my eyes when I look at this chart is that it looks really similar to what happened with Bitcoin in 2018. So you see we had the all-time high pretty much at the same time with Bitcoin, then a very strong significant correction even higher than for Bitcoin, and then we had this lower highs and pretty much strong support line here. Well, it's not really the level, but support line, which was broken eventually downwards in November, December, to the ultimately low level, and in February this was all-time low. So now we had this sort of accumulation period and already had some of the signatures of recovery from this drop, and even potentially you may find some signature of inverse head and shoulders over here, which technically would lead us something like 20 cents probably. But in any case, if Stellar will behave just as Bitcoin, we will surpass this region and surpass probably this region and go somewhere to $0.50 very soon. At least it's really possible when you look even at Bitcoin, and Stellar has a lower capitalization, and moreover the very nice bottoming point over here was shown for stochastic, MACD, RSI. Now all of them are going upwards, having higher lows, which is really hard to spot when you look at the price. So in principle, behind this price action we have a hidden strength which could be released eventually. And the problem with Stellar right now is that while Bitcoin is growing, we do see this thing with Stellar when you trade XLM to BTC. This looks really ugly. This looks like a falling knife, which you don't want to catch really, and then there is literally no place to stop. So here it was a nice support, you see, which we had in March 2018, but we broke it downwards. So it's really scary to buy, but also pretty much unreasonable because we don't know when this will stop. So we may have another, for example, lower high for stochastic, and this indicator will make a new low over here. And the same may happen with MACD and RSI. So I mean, indicators look rather bearish, maybe except stochastic at some point, because we have equally low lows over here while we have the lower lows on the price. So it gives us a little bit of the hope here. However, why I'm interested in Stellar, why I think it may be a nice buy at the moment. I think that despite the fact that the price didn't find the support, we don't have the accumulation period for a long time or something like that, I think that this case is more likely to be very close to the end of this drop, because considering all the other huge altcoins, this is absolutely extremely oversold. And considering even the discount which it gives right now, it's a very appealing trade. I mean, of course, you can get more of the drop, but just the risk to reward ratio over here, I mean, how far can it go? Really, how deep we can see this falling comparing to the potential of its growth. I think it's statistically a nice trade. So right now I'm considering to buy this small dip, and of course you better not to copy my trade, but this is what I'm thinking right now. Overall, Bitcoin dominance recently is showing the strong pullback from this level. It means that altcoins are recovering their positions really fast actually, and there is no process as we had over here when the altcoins were very weak. So now they are starting to show some of the strength. So I will continue to look close at these opportunities in the altcoin space while we will continue to track our Bitcoin positions. So we'll see where the market will bring us. And that is it for today. Safe trading, guys. Goodbye.